Take one moment with the legs out in front of us. Hands behind. Just a simple pointing and flexing. And point, as you point, curl the toes towards the heel so you feel the sole of the foot engage. And flex, pull the toes back so you feel it all the way up from the sole of the foot up the back of the lower leg, even across the back of the knee. Point. And then let's do a slow roll. So taking it out to the side of the room so you feel the outer legs engage. Toes lifting, coming to neutral on the flex, and then turning the toes towards each other so you feel the engagement inner leg, a little stretch outer. And just slow, like you're trying to scrape something off the sides of the rooms. And then change direction. So there's a little more engagement in the tissue as you move. Good. And then just let the legs bounce. Good, feet together, right? Slightly away from the body. So simple, right? Just taking left hand to the right knee, simple twist. And then other side, left hand behind the left hip, right hand, left knee, simple twist. And switch to the first side. And smooth shift to the other side. And let's come back to the first side. And again, I'm just going to play with folding over the right leg, little bit of a long spine. So instead of rounding, I'm reaching, crown of the head forward, breastbone forward, as long as I can, as far as I can, and then let the body round. Round your way back up to sit. And one more time, reach out. So there's a little bit of an extension or a little bit of keeping the back body engaged. And then rounding, which will lengthen the back body and engage the front body as you roll up. Other side. Good. Going towards that left leg. Again, a little bit of spinal extension. And then rounding. Good. And spinal extension. And rounding. Good, and through center, extension. Right, breastbone towards the toes, past the toes, crown of the head towards the front of the room. Again, as long as you can, as far as you can, and then rounding. Curling the crown towards the tail, rounding, middle back, lower back, and coming up to sit. One more time like that, coming down through spinal extension. Going as far as you can, letting the pelvis fold over those legs. Right, pelvis is moving around the leg bones and then rounding up. And come up to sit. Okay. And then crossing legs, right, your non-habitual cross, right, the side that's a little less comfortable, a little more challenging. Maybe even turning the palms up towards the ceiling, letting the arms slide back a little bit, exposing the chest, letting the head even move back. Sense of seeing your body. Maybe it's just the feet, maybe it's the chest. Good for a moment, taking in the room, right, with your peripheral vision. The entirety of the room, the objects in the room. And then looking at your nose. Right, so shifting your attention to nose, close to your face. Maybe seeing left nostril or right nostril, at the top of the nose. And then again, moving back out into your peripheral vision, tracing the periphery the entire periphery, opening up that scope of vision. And then closing your eyes. And so still aware of that environment that you connected to visually. And just sensing back of the room, space behind you, the back of your head and your upper back, middle and lower back, back of your pelvis. Aware of your breath, how the breath is moving. The depth, the rhythm of the breath, is it fast or slow? Does the inhale feel invited in, or is it a little on the shallow side? You need to change the breath, just notice. And then we'll start to play with shifting the breath. So exhale fully. Inhale slowly, 4, 3, 2, 1, slight pause. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, slight pause. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, longer pause, softening around that suspension of the breath. Noticing the response in the body. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, slight pause. And suspending the breath. Notice the body, soften the response if you can. And then relax the breath. Notice the shift in the breath, just its natural rhythm at the moment. And let's bring palms together in front of the heart. And we're just going to play with a little bit of breath and sound. So we're going to inhale, we're going to sip the breath in, sip, sip, sip 3 times. Exhale with a ha, H-A. Okay, so slightly rounded mouth, inhaling, little sip, right? So it's a little faster through the mouth. And again, exhale. Ah. Inhale, sip, and sip, and sip, and exhale. Ah. And inhale, sip. Maybe slower, inhale, sip. Inhale, sip. Exhale. Ah. Last one, inhale. Could be slower, could be more quick. Notice what feels different, what feels good. Last sip and exhale. Ah. And bring your arms down, just noticing. Your body, your mind. What else are you noticing? All right, so let's lay down on our backs. Knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Good, I'm going to take my arms out to the side. And just feeling the backs of the shoulders, the back of the ribs, back of the pelvis, back of the arms, sinking, settling. Good, and letting that right foot lift off the floor, right knee up over the hip. Good, and I'm just gonna make a teeny circle. Right, so sometimes when we move, the body engages around the movement. Right, so I'm gonna go slowly enough so that the weight can continue to stay heavy on the pelvis. So the circle can start very slow. Again, I'm really just watching the back of the head, the back of the neck, the shoulders, the back of the pelvis, as I move the weight of the thigh in the circle. The jaw, the lips, the teeth. Doesn't have to be a big circle, smooth circle. And it's more of the movement and the weight shift and the response in the body that I'm interested in. And then setting that knee back over the hip in more of a neutral position, just notice. And let's bring the left foot up. So now the left knee is over the hip joint, right? So the thighs are vertical. There's a downward weight, thighs into pelvis. Again, noticing pelvis, lower back, middle and upper back, back of neck, head. And then let's bring the right foot to the floor and slowly left knee, little circle, slow circle, small circle. Right, not really a stretch. We're just noticing back of neck, back of arms, jaw, face, eyes. The hips, the groin, the pelvic floor. Just noticing. What is overworking? What is underworking? In a sense, we want the entire body to organize around that weight shift, the movement, easily, gracefully. But as you feel, as you're able to hold the awareness of more of your body, you can increase the circumference of the circle. And then let's come back to neutral. Pause. I'm going to lift the right foot up, bringing the right thigh, again, perpendicular or right. The weight of the right leg over the hip, the weight of the left leg over the left hip. Okay, let's see if we can do 2 circles. Again, the circles are going to be small. Slow. Right, so you might need to find the cadence that works for you. too slow, maybe you start to work or overly stabilized, too fluid, you might wobble. Again, you want to be able to keep whatever your stability points are. Mine is definitely the back of the neck and the jaw. Not efficient stability parts, but that's what wants to help. So if I go slow enough, I can start just allowing more of the body to become involved. Right? Less of the places that just turn on to help, regardless if they're helpful or not. It's like a hair trigger response. It's like getting angry when we don't know how to do something, or shame, right? But there's a hair trigger response in the system. If we slow it down, we can follow the whole process in a different way. Yeah. Come back to center. Just float the knees and thighs over the pelvis. And then simple. Let's take the knees just slowly out to the side. Feet are still off the floor, thighs are still pretty vertical. Knees out to the side, away from each other. And then slowly back to center. Good, and slowly out to the side. Good, and slowly back to center, right? Noticing how does it feel to come back to center? How does it feel to go out to the side? Can you make it smooth? And slowly back to center. Good, 2 more, nice and slow. One more. Good, and slowly lower the feet back to the floor. Good, so I'm just gonna press my feet into the floor, lift my hips off the floor just a little bit, 1/2 inch, and shift them over to the left. And put them back down on the floor. Then I'm going to straighten the right leg out along the floor, take that right knee back up and over the hip. Okay, this time I'm going to take knees, instead of away from the center line, I'm going to take that left knee to the right, across to the right. So I'm slowly rolling from the right hip to the left hip. Back across the pelvis to the left hip. Maybe the left knee moves out from the center line just a little bit. Back to center. And across to the right. So I actually just shifted my ribs. I just lifted them up and moved them away from the pelvis. Good, let's go one more time back across to the left hip, a little bit out to the left. And then I'm going to go again, left hip across the pelvis to the right, a little bit more towards the outer right hip. Again, taking that exploration back across the right hip, back of pelvis. Left side of pelvis, maybe even a little out the outer hip, just a little. And across the left hip towards the center, across the back of the right hip, maybe even towards the outer hip. That left knee starts to come across to the right side of the room. Left shoulder stays heavy. And then again, coming back across from outer hip, back of hip, center of pelvis, left side. Left knee can travel out to the side a little. And then slowly, outer left hip, center, towards the center of the pelvis, right hip, back of hip, outer hip, left knee across. So now we're even going further onto that outer right hip, left knee coming closer to the floor. Left shoulder's coming off the floor, but I'm still letting it be heavy. And then rolling outer hip, back of hip, back of pelvis. Left knee out to the side. Last time. Left knee comes back towards the center. Rolling across the back of the pelvis. Left shoulder stays heavy. Maybe even let the head roll to the left just to help that counterweight. And then right knee is going to find that left knee. Maybe the left foot comes to the floor, even if the knee is not near the floor. Notice what's possible and just pause here for a moment with the right hand holding the left knee. Good. And then slowly release. Come back onto the back of the pelvis. Let the left foot come to the floor. Let the right foot come to the floor. Bring your hips back to center. Pause, notice, breathe. Good. And again, lift the hips up. Shift the pelvis to the right. Not very much, maybe an inch or so. Straighten the left leg. Take that right knee up. And let's slowly take the right knee just out to the side, out to the right. And then back to the center, across the back of the pelvis onto the left hip. Right, and you can stay close to the sacrum for the first rotation. And then knee going back across to the center of the sacrum, right side of pelvis. Right knee travels out to the side just to feel that weight shift. Center onto the back of the hip, back of the right hip, rolling across the back of the pelvis to the left. Right shoulder stays heavy. And just rolling the pelvis. Right leg out to the right. And back to the center, across the back of the pelvis. Left side of hip. Good. Each time that right knee can come further to the left. As you backtrack and roll across the left hip, just noticing the tissue, noticing the difference from doing the other side. Back of pelvis, right leg out to the side. And center. And across to the left slowly. Find your rhythm, find your speed. As that right knee travels left. Feeling the movement in the waist, in the ribs, even in the neck. And finding your way into the back of the pelvis, right side of the pelvis, right knee out to the right, just enough to feel that weight shift. And then as you take that right knee across to the left, and each time, right, more weight will shift onto the right or onto the left the hip, that right shoulder will start to come up a little higher. Just felt an adjustment in my back. Right knee out to the side. I'm going to start to let my head now counter, right head rolling right. So as that right knee travels across, maybe bring a little more weight to the outer left hip as that right shoulder stays heavy. Back onto the back of the pelvis. Last time we'll pause with that right knee to the left, but first taking the right knee out to the side and across and over to the left. Left hand on that right knee. Letting your breath lengthen and deepen. Even feeling that left leg lengthen away from the crown of the head. Good. Last breath here. Softening wherever needs to soften. Back body, front body, hip, throat, jaw. And slowly roll onto your back. Right foot on the floor. Left foot on the floor. Center the hips with the shoulders. And just notice. Pause, breathe. Okay. So we haven't done this one in a while, but let's take that right arm up to the ceiling. Then I'm just going to take the right arm across to the left. So I'm rolling across the back of the shoulder girdle, shoulder area, upper back, rib cage. Right arm reaching for the left arm, head rolling. And then bring that right arm back up and out to the floor. You can let the eyes follow that right hand. Right arm coming up and over to the left, reaching to the left hand, eyes looking to the right hand. One more time, right hand to the floor, eyes follow, right arm up, eyes follow, right arm across to the left. As the ribs feel more confident or more supple, maybe there's a little more roll onto that left shoulder. One more time, just for fun. Right arm to the floor, eyes follow, right arm to the ceiling. Reach that arm, reach to the hand as you roll onto that left shoulder. And then arm up and out to the right. Okay, let's do the other side. So following the eyes, or following the left hand with the eyes. So left arm up to the ceiling and across to the right. My movement is quite modest to start. And then up to the ceiling and out to the left. Eyes are following, the head is rolling. The eyes may want to initiate the movement or guide the movement. Let the arm, the ribs, the breath guide the movement. It's tricky. It's tricky when the eyes get involved. Again, each time reaching a little bit more, feeling the movement. Now the ribs moving away from the pelvis, and the pelvis might move a little bit. Right? Left arm back to the floor, eyes follow. Left arm up, feeling the ribs roll a little bit more as that left hand reaches for the right hand. Left arm up and out to the side. Last time, up. Left arm across, reaching to the right hand, past the right hand. Letting the ribs roll. I'm feeling a marked difference, right side. left side, just in my ability to rotate. Head back to center and pause. So now I'm going to take my right hand up to the ceiling again. I'm going to bend the arm and bring that hand by the shoulder. So my fingers are going to flip down towards the foot, or maybe out to the side of the room. So I'm going to turn my fingers more towards the right side of the room than towards the toes. So I'm going to play with planting my right hand on the floor, spreading the finger, the palm of the hand into the floor. And then I'm just going to play with pulling that right elbow away from the breastbone. Shoulder blade comes off the floor. And then I'm going to try to lay the shoulder blade back onto the floor while keeping my hand flat on the floor. And then send the right elbow out to the right, away from the breastbone. The shoulder blade peels up off the floor. And then trying to lay that shoulder blade back down. One more time. Slide that right elbow up and away to the right. And then slide that right shoulder blade down. Okay, keeping that hand where it is. We've done this one before, but I'm just going to now roll. So let the knees drop. Both knees drop to the left. Pelvis rolls to the left. Right hand stays where it is. Ribs start to roll to the left. And then slowly roll the ribs back to where you started, the pelvis back to where you started, knees come up over the hips. One more time, knees drop left. Pressing into the feet this time, letting the hips turn left. Like that little bit of opening on the front of the right thigh, front of the right hip. Ribs turning, right hand stays on the floor. Feeling that movement in the shoulder. Slowly lay the ribs back down, the pelvis back down, the knees up. Good, one more time. Knees drop left, ribs and pelvis turn left. Right hand stays where it is. Good, and then I'm just gonna play, right? So I'm pressing into that right foot, that right hip is moving forward. And then I'm gonna let more weight shift onto the left hip and let that right leg trace around. Right hand is still gonna stay where it is. Right knee traces around, left hand finds that knee. And then I'm gonna slide the right hand up. Maybe the hand stays close to the floor, maybe. Up, directly up, away from the crown of the head. And then maybe trace it around to the right. Around and out to the right. Right arm straight out from the right shoulder. Left hand holding that right knee. And then I'm going to release the knee. Let that right foot trace back. Come onto the back. Knees up over the hips. Feet on the floor. Okay. Let's do the other side. So left arm up to the ceiling. And I'm going to bend the elbow, bringing the hand towards the head side of the room. Palm on the floor, fingers facing slightly out towards the side of the room. Find a place that feels good, getting the hand flat to the floor. Ideally, the shoulder blade somewhat on the floor. Good, and then I'm going to take that left elbow away from the breastbone, out to the left and up. Hand stays on the floor, shoulder blade peels off the floor, and then shoulder blade slowly lays down. And then left elbow lifts and moves left, shoulder blade peels up. And then slowly, slowly down. One more time, left shoulder blade peels up, left elbow goes left, hand spreads into the floor. It doesn't have to be a strong press, just more of a spreading. And slowly lower the shoulder blade back down. Okay, hand stays there. Knees drop right. Right, so my weight shifts to my right hip as the knees drop. Pelvis turns to the right, ribs turn to the right, left hand stays behind. And then slowly roll ribs back, pelvis back, knees up. And again, knees drop right. Stepping into especially that left foot as the left hip keeps moving right. Ribs turning right, head even turning right. Left hand stays behind. And then slowly roll ribs back, pelvis back, knees up. And again, slow it down a little more. Let the weight of the bones help you. Shifting knees right, pelvis turns right. The heaviness of that left leg as it steps into the floor, moving the pelvis, moving the ribs further right. And rolling ribs back, pelvis back, knees up. Right, last time we'll stay on the right, so let the knees drop right. Again, I'm shifting that weight onto the right hip as the pelvis rolls. Ribs roll, and then I'm going to let the weight stay on the right. Left leg traces around the right leg. And let the right hand find that left knee. Pause. And left arm starts to reach up away from the crown of the head, away from the tailbone. Slowly, it can be off the floor, on the floor. Tracing back to the left side of the room, straight up from the left shoulder. Even let the head roll to help the shoulder come closer to the floor. Pause and breathe. And then slowly release that left leg. Right hand rolls out to the right. Left leg traces back to where we started. Knees up. Arms wide. Okay, just notice your breath, notice your body. Notice the sensation in the body. Are you able to feel more of turning on the skin in a way? Like compressing the skin and all the nerve endings in the skin against the floor. How does that shift your body perception? Okay, let's come back to where we started. I'm just going to take right foot off the floor. The right knee comes up over the hip. Left foot peels off the floor, bringing the left knee up over the hip. Just notice as the weight shifts on the pelvis, what is the shape of the back? How does the back work? Can you feel the pelvis, lower back, mid back, upper back as a cohesive, organized torso, supporting that simple weight shift in the legs? I'm going to lift my feet up as high as my knees. Just going to let my ankles cross. My feet are just a little higher than my knees. Again, I'm still trying to find that weight shift, legs down into the pelvis. So the back as a unit, maybe even from crown of the head, the face, the jaw, the neck, shoulders, upper back and chest, middle, torso, lower torso, base, all kind of integrating to support this shift of the weight. And then I'm going to play with uncrossing the legs, straightening one leg, one is slightly bent, point, flex, pointing the straight leg, flexing the straight leg foot, and then switch, bending the straight leg, straightening the leg that was bent, pointing, flexing the foot, pointing the foot, flexing the foot. And bend both knees again. Again, notice how the weight is resting down. I'm going to play with straightening the legs just a little bit more. Notice what happens. If one part of that torso, one part of the torso starts to work really hard, notice. Let's bend the knees. Let's bring the knees fully bent, heels towards the butt. And then slowly float the feet back up. And they don't have to straighten all the way. And if the hamstrings are tight and they start to pull you into a posterior tilt and your abdominals start to turn on too much, then notice that. And bend just one more time. Straighten. Your straighten. And bend. Pause with the knees bent, the heels hanging towards the buttocks. And then slowly float the feet down. Okay, let's grab our blocks for a moment. So I'm going to use the blocks on the lowest height. I'm going to angle the blocks so the blocks that are under the sacrum are angled right in a V shape, meaning that the blocks that are further out towards the center of the room are down towards the feet, the edge of the block away from the center is down towards the feet, the edge of the block in under the body is angled up towards the head. Okay, so feet closer to the body, lift the heels up, posterior tilt, right? Scoop the sitting bones up the bottom of the sacrum, middle sacrum, upper sacrum, slide the blocks under the pelvis and roll back down, right? So we're mirroring the V shape. That the edge of the block is wider at the top of the sacrum and narrower at the bottom. And letting the hips rest. And then maybe lifting the ribs up, walk them away from the tailbone. And letting the length of the back, the width of the back get quiet. The belly and the throat and the jaw get quiet. Again, I'm going to lift my ribs up and away from my tailbone. Good. And so I'm going to straighten one leg. Right, so I've shifted my weight away from the tailbone so that when I straighten the leg, my pelvis doesn't pull into an anterior tilt. Right? I don't start to do a back bend in the lower back. You can always take the arms up higher, either straight out to the side of the room or slightly above the shoulders if you want to straighten the other leg. Right, so we're getting more of a kind of long front body from the fronts of the legs, front of the hip, lower belly, chest, just a nice long arc. So the back body also has that nice, long, simple arc. And relaxing your throat, widening your throat. You can even let the mouth open and let the breath come in through the mouth, nice and slow and easy. In and out through the mouth, almost like vapor, fog. You can also do it through the nose as well if that feels more comfortable. There are very different qualities. The inhale is connected more to the sympathetic nervous system, or more elevating your energy. And the exhale is more, I guess, in tune with the parasympathetic, or the calming, down regulating. But noticing your body, noticing the response in your body. If you emphasize maybe the exhale more than the inhale. Or emphasize the inhale more than the exhale. Let's bend the knees, feet back on the floor. Go ahead and let the knees drop towards each other, feet a little wider. Again, just feeling the back body lengthen, soften. And then bringing your feet more parallel. Again, I'm gonna walk the feet closer to the block, lift the heels, use that posterior tilt to scoop the pelvis up. Like keeping that rounded shape in the back, just to help lengthen the lower back. I'm gonna push the block towards the heels. I'm gonna keep that rounded shape as I lay the spine down. Just using the weight to compress and spread that tissue on either side of the spine. Straightening the legs, arms either on the body or off. And cover yourself. And just letting your body settle, sink, melt back into the floor. Soften back, sink back, settle back, melt back. And feeling the change in your breath. You don't even have to try to do anything. Just notice how it starts to change. Even again, just the sense of the skin of your body, and the feet and the legs, the hands and the arms. The whole back of your body, back of your legs and your hips and your back and your neck and head. And settling back. And even noticing the space between the toes, between the feet and the ankles and knees, lower legs and knees, the thighs. Space between the fingers. And then go back to the internal, the movement of the breath. The sensation of how the body is moving. The ribs, the throat, the face, the belly. All from the breath. And then a little movement in your fingers and your toes. Just a little curiosity, keeping that melty, restful quality as you start to move. Again, maybe not a dullness, but a curiosity. Aware of this simple, right? Your exchange, the body to the environment. Just the movement of the hands or the feel of your own skin. Feeling the arms move and the legs move. Gently roll to your side when you're ready. Again, feeling the floor under you, feeling the way the bones move around each other through the tissue around the bones. And slowly bring yourself up to sit. And we're just going to do some sound with the breath. First sound will be ha, H-A, ha. Inhaling. Ah. Next breath will be two sounds, so they'll be shorter to fit into the breath. Right? So the first sound would be ha, H-A. The second sound would be vu, V-U. Inhale. Ah. Next breath will be three sounds. Ha, Vu, ha. Again, they'll be shorter just to make space. Inhale. Ah. Vu. Ah. Next breath will be 4 sounds. Ha, vu, ha, vu. Again, the importance isn't getting it right, it's more the vibration moving through the body. Inhale. Ah, vu, ah, vu. Just take a moment and notice any shift in your body, what that feels like sensation-wise. Felt like a warm liquid move over my head and back body. Notice what your sensations are. Palms together in front of your heart. Namaste. Just honoring your own light and each other's.